series. Today, I have my friend Sid with me, and we're going to talk about Uranus. Hi, Sid. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on here.
See, okay. So what is happening with Instagram? I'm trying to be on Instagram as well. Sorry, Sid. So let's see. Sid's gonna go. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We're trying to do Instagram live at the same time, so we're testing this. I know Mercury is still with some shadows, but we're live on Instagram. Awesome. Okay, so there's no echo, no nothing. Perfect. Are you excited about this
For sure.
upcoming year? Awesome. Cool. Yes, before we start talking about Uranus and what's happening this year, please tell us more. Just introduce yourself a little bit to people who don't know you. Although you so probably said in a bunch of my previous videos, we talked about many different things. But please, just a short introduction so people can get to know you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sid. I'm an astrologer, and I love talking to Jasmina about astrology and other topics related to this.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Well, I had a privilege to actually meet Sid in person. So he's a real person. And there was an amazing conference we had in Omega last summer, and we hang out together. So that was amazing. Cool. So now today the topic is Uranus. And I know it's very exciting. Uranus is one of the major players in this upcoming year. Do you want to go straight to the April 20th, or do you want to go chronologically and see first what is Uranus doing in January?
Oh,
Whatever
sure. We
you
can
feel
go
like.
either way. I
We can.
wasn't sure how you wanted to organize this discussion of Uranus, but I just took notes a little bit about
Mhm.
what that planet represents because I think
Yes,
people.
let's go first from there. Yes, please give us
Okay.
some. Yes.
Well,
Cool.
and so for one main thing we have going on this year is the Jupiter Uranus are conjunction. So they're both going to be conjoining in the sign of Taurus. They're both in Taurus right now, but like that actual conjunction happens in April. And basically Uranus, the thing about Uranus is that it was the first outer planet that was discovered, because before that we had a really long time of astrology, about 3,000 to 4,000 years of just the inner planets, right? So that's why a lot of and traditional astrologers love those inner planets. That the bounds are Saturn, right?
Yeah.
And even Jupiter is within that bounds of Saturn. So like the cool thing about Uranus is that like on March 13th, 1781, it was discovered, and that's the first. Around that time, we had the American Revolution, the which, and then the French Revolution followed. All
Mm-hmm.
these things that were kind of symbolic of that the planet Uranus were going on at that time. And the cool thing about Uranus is that it's even when you look at the astronomy of it, it's very different from the other planets because it's kind of like a bowling ball in how it spins. The North Pole of Uranus actually points towards the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So even the planet itself is very different from it's a rebel, right? Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
associate it with innovativeness and rebelness. Like, I love this planet because I have it conjunct my moon actually, and
Woo!
yeah, no, and so that's why I was so pleased to hear like you wanted me on to talk about this with you. But basically, so Saturn represents like the thing is, Jupiter is more of a logical, sequential way to get those good things, but it still has to listen to Saturn because Saturn is the outer bounds of it. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing about Uranus is it's outside of that, so it doesn't have to follow the same path Jupiter does. So I feel like when Uranus and Jupiter get together, like Uranus kind of helps Jupiter out in doing more, like do more of what Jupiter wants without having to listen to Saturn. And then I guess
I
let's
like
see.
that. I'm just gonna add
Go
something
first.
before you continue. I want to say hi to Hannah, who is here and misbehaving. Thank you
Hey
for
Hannah.
joining us. Yeah, hi guys. And then we have some people on Instagram as well. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please be free to put them in the chat box, and we'll try to answer. And then just to continue, to say something regarding the Uranus astronomy. Every planet like goes like around like a clip, and he goes the other way around. So he's really, as you mentioned, he's the quirky one. That's why he's different, unique, weirdo of the crowd. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and like in the mythology, in the Greek myth at least, Uranus was the sky god, and it creating many offspring with his wife Gaia, which is kind of like the Earth, which I think is cool because Uranus is in Taurus right now, right? And so a lot of people associate Gaia with Earth, so it brings that kind of mythology to light with the and another relevant character in Greek mythology that Uranus is associated with is Prometheus, who's the guy who gave us fire. He rebelled by stealing fire from the gods and giving it to mankind. And I kind of see that a lot. I feel that a lot with, with the way this planet operates in terms of helping out the masses. Because, the modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. Yes. And that also has important ramifications in terms of, like, right now we're about to enter Pluto and Aquarius, right? So like a lot of this year we're going to have that, and then after like November of this year we're going to enter that period for like 20 years, which is going to be a revolutionary time in humanity. So I feel like it's a very cool planet that, like, it helps us think beyond limitations, because that's a big Uranus theme.
Yeah, I do. I feel it's a planet of progress as well. So otherwise we will be always stuck in the kind of in the same way, the way that we do things the same way. This way we can progress and evolve as humanity, as people. And I have to tell you, I'm very excited about Uranus in Gemini in the next couple of years. Connected with Pluto in Aquarius, it's going to be really giving power back to people in some way or another. Just like Prometheus gave fire to the people, I think this Uranus in Gemini also and Pluto in Aquarius are going to team up together, and it's going to be big changes, as you mentioned. But before that, we have some work to do. Yes, in Taurus.
Yeah, no, in fact, I think I tell people that the second part of this decade that we're in, the outer planets are going to be in yang signs, and so it's going to be a lot kind of the tone is going to be a lot louder. It's going to be a lot of things going to be going on. So like I feel like a lot of people that are kind of unsure about right now, I tell them to appreciate right now, because we're going to look back on these days and be like, I miss when Neptune was in Pisces and it was just psychic drift. Like there is a psychic drift going on right now, but I think there's some beauty in that we should appreciate, because right now the planets are still kind of yin, but like, there's going to be a big explosion, I feel like, in all kinds of realms, and many good things too from that. Like I think, which is the great thing about technology, which is another Uranus association, right? Like technology, innovation.
Yeah, I know, but everything's going to be quicker and faster. So now we still have kind of a time to, as you said, like Neptune in Pisces and everything, to slow down a little bit, do it a little bit slower and more inward and receptive, and just I think it's time to actually build the solid foundations. So when this all fast energy comes in, so we have some foundations to be in. Otherwise, we're gonna collapse. I feel so individually as well. Anyway.
Yeah, and the Neptune will be in Aries, by the way, when it to make
and
that
Saturn. And Saturn.
Yeah, Neptune and Saturn, like both together are going to join Aries, but with regards to the outer planets, being in yang signs. So and with that theme, Neptune and Aries, Pluto and Aquarius, and then Uranus and Gemini. So yeah, there's going to be a big a revolutionary time coming up in humanity from the whole decade. But even this year, I think with that Jupiter Uranus, which always kind of points towards innovative times in humanity, like even especially when you look at the history of when those they conjoin about every 14 years, 13 to 14 years, I think, Jupiter Uranus. But right now Uranus is in Taurus, and so I think so when you look back at those periods, they always revolutionize in the sign that they're in. So Taurus would be kind of like Venusian themes. But we can get into that whenever you're ready.
Yeah. No, we can go now. I think you explained Uranus beautifully, what it represents, and it's about also rebellion, and it can be it's about unexpected and new, but it can also be disruptive. So if we are not, it shakes our world. When Uranus touches us, it shakes our world as we know it. So if you're not prepared for it, it's like a roller coaster. Or I always think about waves when you surf. If you don't catch the wave, it's gonna hit you and then it's gonna break you. And so you need to know how to ride the waves with Uranus.
That's a really good point, because it does kind of hit you out of nowhere. That's kind of the way it operates, and it often doesn't really care about whether you're ready or not. Like, because it
No.
makes the mess and doesn't like, and then it worries about the mess that it's made afterwards, how to work with that. But it's very obstinate, like just kind of like Aquarius is a fixed sign. So it's kind of like that in the sense that when it's making its like kind of radical, erratic change,
Mhm.
uh, I even when like I love it actually, because I've always kind of I think also astrology itself, you can argue,
Yes.
is ruled by Uranus, right? Traditionally, it was Mercury, but I think so
Mhm.
many people have told me, and so many of my clients have told me that, like, when they have, like, I see so many clients, and whenever I'm doing their charts, I'm noticing they're having a Uranus transit, like the ones that aren't that familiar with
Mhm.
astrology and for the first time learning. So, like, you that in itself, I can kind of points towards how much its associations with astrology, and I'm sure you have the same
I get. I,
experience.
I will tell you my example. I will tell you
Sure.
my. So I've known about astrology, learned, read books, look at charts for friends and family for years since I was 12. But when I actually went and decided to go and do this professionally and help people, and it was my Uranus opposition to my natal Uranus. That's when I had the big awakening of that's it. It's now or never. It's kind of like, rebel about, because I was trying so many years to fit into the society, do what I was told, go to university, do these jobs that you need to do. But then this is what I really want to do. This is my rebellion in that sense,
Absolutely.
right? So it happened during my Uranus opposition to my natal Uranus. Yeah, like
Yeah,
complete.
and I think that's a major life period. I can't speak to it yet because I haven't gone through it myself.
Yeah.
But you know how they and I guess cultural terms used to call it, at least, the midlife crisis.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
that is, the Uranus
Yes.
opposition. And basically at that point, it tells you, it forces you to reconcile and be like, why did we come here? Like, what's your vision in this world? What are you gonna do? And like,
Yes.
if you're not following that blueprint that your soul has, then it's going to force you to like go through some reckless times, like for a lot of people.
Yes.
On the same token, like people, and I'm not sure if this is rings true for you, but a lot of people, if they are already kind of like thinking about that and trying to go with that Uranian flow about what their soul blueprint wants them to do, then
Yeah.
Uranus kind of like gives them an extra beer or something, like it's like a plus
Absolutely.
one out, right?
Absolutely. But you can prepare for it. You have to kind of prepare for it. I mean, prepare for it. You have to embrace it. Just like in every transit, you have to embrace Uranus in that sense. Yeah. But absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the Uranian, if you try too hard to fit in with the cultural paradigm, then I feel like those are the people. That's the time when people have struggles with Uranus, because often
Yes.
the way that it works is because Saturn represents form, definition, like physical limitations, all that stuff. But when that it's basically Saturn's kind of like the crystallization within our consciousness that creates form. And when that becomes outdated, Uranus comes along to update, transform the energy to like kind of break it, liberate it. And the
Mhm.
liberation is the interaction between the form, which is Saturn, and the need to break that form in order for the evolution to continue, which is Uranus. So I feel like,
I
um,
agree. I agree. I have to just add something. So you mentioned, Uranus, Mercury was ruling astrology before. I think Uranus is kind of higher octave of Mercury, just like
yeah, yeah,
Venus.
good
Yeah,
point.
it's
Yeah,
it's in that sense. They work together. And I always think about generation that have Uranus and Saturn a conjunction. Like it was end of the 80s. It's when the Berlin Wall fell down, all these communist countries fell apart. So this was This was
Yeah.
literally breaking down old structures. But I feel that people who were born at that time, they have like a tendency to bend the rules, not break them. So they have like because they still they understand structures, but they also understand it needs to change. So they are bending them instead of breaking them. So just a note on from my experience with clients and stuff. Anyway,
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
Uranus cannot. It doesn't have to be disruptive in that sense. If you can, you can work to bend around it. And you don't have to
Yeah,
initially,
sure.
in that
Like
sense.
yeah, it's just only when it's necessary, like when you're
Yeah.
when the form, like the Saturn form, needs to be,
Mhm.
like, for example, that you just brought up, like the Berlin
Yeah.
Wall. Like in those cases, it needs
Mhm.
to happen. And when things get too far into the like consensus reality, where it's just like this is unbearable, that's where Uranus can be very helpful to come in. And you know, I would say that there is when I was first learning astrology and learning about these outer planets, would help me distinguish between Uranus and Pluto or like
Mhm.
between them is kind of like Pluto was more transmutation, which is kind of like shape A becomes shape B, like a caterpillar
Yes.
pillar
Yes.
dissolves into a cocoon and then emerges into a butterfly, right? Whereas Uranus is more transformation, the vibration of transformation,
Mhm.
because it's in that sense, I guess people often ask me that question, and I think Pluto is the way it operates is very differently, and it's more kind of I think it's the why behind it is different. Whereas another way to distinguish it is that like Pluto is kind of like extreme gravity, and Uranus is extreme anti-gravity. I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't mean to confuse,
Uh,
but some
Yeah,
people.
I know what you mean. No, I know what you mean. Like for Pluto, it needs to destroy. Like it needs to like build from scratch. Like it needs to something needs to die to be rebuilt. In Uranus way, I don't think things need to die, but Uranus kind of electrifies things. It makes them like awareness of you need to change something. This is not working. Let's get rid of this. So it's more I think Pluto is more subconscious, like it's done dead. This is more of a conscious level change, let's say, in my opinion. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I would say that with Pluto, it's more the from
Yeah.
a psychological perspective, at least, it's the more the depth unconscious security attachment on a soul level. Like it's almost like an obsession. Like Pluto's kind of like an
Yes.
obsession kind of thing, whereas Uranus is kind of like um, it's not. It's trying to get you out of a rut, kind of, and even the way it the way we think about like Mercury or other planets, it's like they follow a logical step. Even Jupiter follows logic, right?
Hmm.
Whereas Uranus kind of doesn't do that. And the cool thing about Uranus though is that like often, when I was talking about the relationship between crystallized form and fracturing of that form, it, when you have that fracturing, you get like insights or light bulb moments that are fragmented, but you don't have the full picture. Like for example, I've had moments where I had these Uranian moments where I could feel
Mm.
like I saw the future in a sense, right? But I could it's not clear, but like certain things, and that's what validates to me at least that the way that Uranus operates is not on the way that we're taught on
Yes, in life, yeah, it's a
even
different
time,
frequency.
right? Like when you think of time, you
Yeah.
kind of think of it as a linear thing, like, oh, this happened then,
Mhm.
this happened then. Like Uranus doesn't care
Yes,
about that. Like it kind of
I,
shatters
I
that sense.
I totally agree. I feel it's a different frequency, different dimension, different realm. It's totally from outer space. Literally, it's a different everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And that's why when people are going through Uranian moments, like they're often castigated or seen as crazy or weird or whatever, because Uranus wants you to find your truth. It doesn't want I think that's the point that I'm trying to get to in all this,
Yeah.
is that like it wants you to rebel. Like it'll force you to have traumatic experiences if you keep on trying to fit into fitting a square peg into like a circular hole or something. Those are the times when it forces you to come back and reflect, and then find your own truth, because it's kind of like as an evolutionary astrologer, after the consensus stage 3, there's individuated stage, which is
Hmm.
it has its own divisions, and I feel like that's also very Uranian in helping you with that process of like, when you're castigated kind of from society, and then like you go through a tough time, but then you eventually reintegrate with your own truth, and that
Yes.
process where you're reintegrating kind of and figuring out your own truth is when it is the Uranian process. So it's not always pleasant. Like that's my
It's
point.
not
And
pleasant at
it's
all
not
because you
pleasant.
have
Yeah.
to fight. Yeah, it's not pleasant because you have to fight the society, the conditions you were brought up in, the way things are. The way people think they should be, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Why? Who said so, right? We are here to change if something doesn't work. It doesn't have to be. It's not set in stone. So Uranus is very much necessary in evolution of humanity. I feel very much so. No wonder he rules Aquarius. Awesome. So, okay, let's go and start talking about 2024. What do we have? What is your highlight for Uranus for you? Tell me more.
Well, I am kind of excited about this Jupiter Uranus
Hmm.
conjunction, because I was looking at like past times when they both conjoined, and I saw that M&Ms, they were created when Uranus and Jupiter were in Taurus. Cheerios,
That's
um,
so cool.
right? Yeah, like we like these. I'm looking like, Taurus does represent the realm of food, and I feel
Yes.
like Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, right? So like we have seen some kind of improvements in
Hmm.
food. A lot of people grow their own food now, and we've seen revolutions there. But I feel like when Jupiter comes there, it also brings the good luck with it, right? And so I
Mm.
think we could see that, and also Taurus is a Venus ruled sign, which represents
Mhm.
kind of pleasure and like, you know enjoying your time. And so when you look back at Uranus, Jupiter, and Taurus periods, you have social labor movements like
Mhm.
revolution. So I'm looking forward to maybe like a 4-day work week potentially,
Yes, me too.
right?
That
Yeah,
would
but
be.
there's something about the,
Mhm.
the, the people revolting and like and revolting about like human rights, labor rights, and those kinds of
Yes.
things. So that's something else that I'm kind of looking forward to. But I'm definitely looking forward to some kind of revolution for us. How about yourself?
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100% because we already seen some seeds. While Uranus, as you said, while Uranus is in Taurus for the last how many years already? 5 years. So we already seen
Yeah.
something happening. But with this Uranus, we're going to see explosion of it, right? As you said, it's going to be bigger, larger, on a larger scale. So more people are going to be because as you mentioned, four working day week. It's already experiment. Many countries are experimenting, many companies, and they have great results. So I think this Jupiter can just push it to be on a larger scale. And then there's a law because Jupiter is also a law. So it says new regulation, right? Because Jupiter represents law and regulations. So we could see some regulations in that sense for sure for labor rights, human rights, food. We saw many vertical gardens, starting, so that can be like a new thing. I think many people started plant-based food, trying that in a sense in the last 5 6 years. More and more people are changing diets in the way. It's revolutionary. It's a new way of eating, let's say, in that we don't, people were hunting meat for forever, right? So now we're going to stop hunting meat in that sense. So that's very new, futuristic, different. I'm also thinking Uranus is about technology, so maybe some kind of new technology in food processing or it's also housing. It can be houses, right? It's also a bunch of other stuff as that on a larger scale. Yes, absolutely. What do you feel that people will? How would people feel this on a personal sense? How would they manifest this energy, like individuals?
Um, I guess it would depend. I just feel like I totally agree with like it's going to be kind of because you're on the way Uranus operates is kind of abrupt, out of
Yeah,
kind of like,
yeah,
like when you look back you can kind of see it coming, but like at that moment you don't kind of see it coming. So that is also something to be aware of. And I
aware.
just came up with like I have Uranus conjunct my moon, and even like my mom told me that like when I started walking. I never crawled. Like I just started walking. Like it's like
That's
it
amazing.
just came to mind, like that story, right? So
That's
so it's kind of
amazing.
something like that. I feel like
I love
um,
that. I love that.
I also like wrote down from Stephen
Mhm.
Forrest's book
Yes.
about the function of, and I also have Richard Tarnas's quotes on
Mhm.
Uranus from Cosmos and Psyche. If you want me to
Yeah,
read them,
please share that. I love that. I love that.
okay.
I didn't read the book, but I love Richard Tarnas and his philosophy.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'll send you a copy of this slide that I got from these books,
Perfect.
like for your own self later. But okay, so from Stephen Forrest's book, he talks about the function of Uranus is the development of individuality, the development of the capacity to question authority, the transcendence of cultural and social programming. And then the dysfunction of Uranus is contrariness, stubbornness, inflexibility, touchiness, quirkishness, unreliability, irresponsibility, selfishness, insensitivity to others' feelings, inability to learn from others, eccentricity for its own
Mhm.
sake. And this is from an older book that he wrote, so I'm sure we've gotten more good stuff on Uranus now. But that's just
But I need to add, this is amazing because we have North Node in Aries, which is exactly this. Uranus is helping this, right?
sorry.
I mean, the North Node, we have North Node in Aries all year long, and it's this Uranus is going to help us with this
Oh,
individuality, authenticity, right? So it's like another note on that. Okay.
oh, absolutely. No, no, totally agree with that. And on that's why I was bringing up like Neptune going into Aries is going to work with the Uranus and Gemini really well because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like uh, it'll further facilitate that process. And then let me just read quickly from Richard Tarnas, Cosmos and Psyche, which is a great book that I
Yes.
like highly recommend. So it says here, Uranus is associated with the principle of change, rebellion, freedom, liberation, reform, and revolution, and the unexpected breakup of structures. With sudden surprises, revelations, and awakenings, lightning like flashes of insight, the acceleration of thoughts and events, with births and new beginnings of all kinds, and with intellectual brilliance, cultural innovation, technological invention, experiment, creativity, and originality. In addition to the occurrence of sudden breakthroughs and liberating events, Uranus transits are linked to unpredictable and disruptive changes. Hence, the planet is often referred to as the cosmic trickster. Another set of themes associated with Uranus is a concern with the celestial and the cosmic, with astronomy and astrology, with science and esoteric knowledge, and with space
Mhm.
travel and aviation. With respect to personal character, Uranus is regarded as signifying the rebel and the innovator, the awakener, the individualist, the dissident, the eccentric, the restless, and the wayward. And that kind of reminds me, when you look at famous celebrities in the historical figures with
Mhm.
Uranian signatures, Steve Jobs had it
Yeah.
strong in his chart. And I remember Albert Einstein had the Uranus Jupiter opposition, since we're talking about Uranus
Mhm.
Jupiter kind of and so these are kind of even looking at out in the world right now, the structures are kind of breaking down anyways. I mean,
Yes.
in all countries, and
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
the the political structures and stuff, so we can already kind of sense it as a humanity. So
Mm.
and I think to answer your question, we already kind of collectively feel it, and anything could happen at this moment, and hopefully it goes for the better. But I feel like we can already feel this in society, right? A little bit.
Before it's gonna go for the better, but you know how in
Yeah.
everything it has to go first. It has to go kind of bad. It has to die. Something has
Yeah.
to die. It's
Exactly.
and
You have
then
to break
before
down, and then it gets better.
yes.
Yeah.
So we gonna I think this is the somebody said it's a bridge year between the 2024 is a bridge year
Yeah.
between the old structure, the old world, and the new world that's coming up next starting next year. I don't know who said it, but I thought it was really amazing. And I was going to say something. Yes, if for everybody who can access Richard Turner's, he had a series of Changing of the Gods.
Yeah.
Did you watch that? It was amazing. I watched that. If anybody can get this, it's amazing. It's like a whole videos on how outer planets change the world through history and how it repeats itself. So it's an amazing series to watch. Anyway, just a thought.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you about the bridge year kind of thing, because like, you know, with these outer planets changing signs, it's a big thing for humanity, all of us as a collective. And so we can't just go into that yet. And so that's why I think the next you know, from 2025 to 2030, it's gonna those years are gonna be very kind of revolutionary. And right now is the bridge to that. But and as we see with our figures and at the top, things are breaking down, and people are learning more than like we ever knew before, right? With all these technology things, we're able to uncover things that just wasn't even when I was growing up, it wasn't like a common thing for the regular folks to have access to kind of all this. But right now we're kind of seeing it all, and there's, I feel like there's a divide between like regardless of what one's political beliefs are, it's like there's a divide between the elites and us common people, like as
Oh
a
yeah,
general,
there
right?
is absolutely.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
And
we can
prices
feel
are
it.
going up too, and like
Oh, yeah.
people are getting, we're all fed up with it, right? We're all feeling it, and it's like frustrating to deal with on a daily life. But like I tell people to kind of just hang in there, because like as you said, like with revolutions at first it's like uneasy and like a lot of craziness, chaos happens, but eventually it ends up better for, like if you look at historically with the United States,
Yes.
whenever they went through those periods, they ended up much better for its citizens afterwards, even though they had the tumultuous period. So
It's going to be a new norm, I feel like it's going to be new legislations, new laws, new the way we run country. Like everything's going to be new. I think this 2024 is going to bring us like we have to kind of clean up our here on Earth, like, and then I think we're going to go beyond. Like we can't even. We can't even imagine what the next 20 years are going to bring. We're going to go outside of the Earth as a planet. There's going to be new discoveries in our universe. We're going to travel in space. It's going to be everything you watched in SF movies and thought, oh my God, this is coming, guys. I mean, this is. I don't know. People think I'm crazy when I say that, but I truly believe that, this is starting soon. So I feel that we need to get our things in order here before we expand somewhere, because Uranus is in Gemini and everything else was mentioned is gonna want us to expand in different directions. So some breakthroughs and changes in our everyday lives, the way we, last time Uranus was I don't know what happened. Something happened with Uranus last time when people got the 8-hour work, right? Instead of, because they were working 12, 14, 15 hours a day, they were for a few pennies. And then, there was unions came in, and then, it was like an
oh
8-hour
right,
a day. That's it, right? So there was
I
also
think that
Uranus
was
change.
when it was Taurus, right? Like that's when they,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
last time.
Yeah.
That's why I was
Yeah.
talking about like I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like there's gonna be some labor revolution, and even when you, I mean, I hate to say it, but when I go out and stuff, and I see people like working hard, people feel kind of dead right now, right? It's not like it was a little while ago. So that's what I mean. I feel like something is on the brink of sparking this kind of revolution. Like we feel
Yeah.
it on when we go out.
The new generations are different. So I think that all this
Very
the
different.
generation of Pluto and Leo people who are now in charge of our world, they're gonna be gone soon. In that sense, they won't be ruling us anymore, and the new generations are coming, right? So they're different.
Very
The norm that you have to work 3 jobs, and if you don't work hard, you're not worthy. That's not normal. We have to live balanced life. It's this pressuring overtimes. Oh my God! And then you get a promotion, then you get a raise because you are so hard. That's stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's just
it
not
is.
normal.
No, absolutely. And that's the old paradigm. And that there you go. There's a perfect example of,
Yeah.
you know, that there was this like false notion that like the harder you work, then the more you're gonna make. Like if
Yeah.
that's the case, then why are the people at the top not
Yeah.
working, right? Like
I
it's
would
like the
I would be
workers are the ones that are struggling with their bills. Like we all are. But like, you know,
yeah.
it's so I totally agree with that. And
Yeah.
the differences in generations is kind of sparking it, because you're right, like more Plutos and Leos are retiring and like and
Yeah.
getting out of the workforce, and more millennials like myself, and then Gen
Yes.
Z is its own thing, and they're entering and we see the world differently than they do, and so that these are things that spark revolutions. Is like it's not it is certainly like it. I see the divide in generations more than I do often more than I do in other cultural sociological
Mm-hmm.
demographics. For example, like
Mm-hmm.
race, culture, whatever, like that's not
Okay.
as big a difference as it is like the generation thing, and that makes it obvious. So I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, and I feel, to be honest, I'm part of X generation. I'm born in late 70s,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's
but we are still no. My generation, I have to tell, my generation is split. We are not. I'm waiting for millennials and other ones to quit, because part of my generation, they're still holding back, and they, but
right.
some of us are changing. But I can see,
Yeah,
but we are a very split generation. My generation still won't change the world. I think the generations coming after, like millennials and Z's, they're gonna actually change something. My generation is still split a lot. Another topic, but we should
yeah.
actually talk astrology with generations. Now you open
Yeah,
up. I want to have a
do that.
live.
I'm down.
With that.
I love that
Good.
topic because
Yeah, we're
and
gonna
I
talk about
totally
it.
yeah, you're right because I feel like Gen X has had it really hard because they had to follow the previous
Yeah,
kind of paradigm for so long, but then when we came along, it's like that's not really the way
yeah,
anymore, and so like
yeah.
I totally understand
Because
this.
we
Like
were already in our 20s when we
I
got
know,
internet.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, no,
I was already, I was 23 when I got my cell phone. It's stuff like that. So we
yeah,
already, you had half of your youth and everything in totally different realm,
right.
like with the
Are
library
you Pluto and
cards
Virgo or Pluto and Libra?
and Pluto Libra, Pluto and
Okay, got
Libra.
you, got you, got you.
Yeah,
No, but I totally understand. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah. So in that sense, generations that are just raised differently, it's different. Yeah, my generation is still split. I can feel it. I know, from people that I talk to and clients and everybody, we are still very split in should we follow the old rules or should we change something. And many people are indecisive, many, and they are, breaking, like they wanna, but they don't feel like, oh, I'm too old, or it's too late for me, or a bunch of other stuff. So anyway, I'm trying to encourage my generation to move forward with my example, if nothing else.
No,
Because
I totally, I can
yeah,
totally understand and sympathize because it, like a lot of us right now, there's so much chaos going on that people are just confused right now, and so it's totally understandable.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so what else is Uranus doing this year? So I know that it was making a nice trine with Sun the other day. That was beautiful, and it's gonna what's gonna happen? And it's gonna trine Mercury end of the month. So Uranus is happy in many planets are in Capricorn, so they're gonna trine. He's in Taurus, so that's a beautiful energy. Not bad, right? For Uranus in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no,
No.
absolutely. I think also like, you know, a lot of people have divided like the first half of this year and
Mhm.
like with that Jupiter Uranus thing, and then there's something big that happens in the second half of this year. I don't know what it
I'll
is.
let you know. I'll tell you. So the big thing. So after Jupiter moves to Gemini, it's going to trine Pluto on June 2nd.
Yeah, there you go,
That's
there
the
you go.
big one. That's the big one. The big.
That's going to be a big another big kind of yeah, Jupiter and Gemini. I was when I was researching that, I was looking at past periods. It's a very mental kind of time,
Yeah.
like lots of different explore like mental explorations. I feel like that I had in when it's an exciting time, but in traditional astrology, Jupiter has its detriment in Gemini
Gemini. Yeah.
because with the beauty of Gemini is all our subjective truths, right? We all have like so much that we to offer, and like there's so many great things. Whereas like Jupiter's at home in Sagittarius, which is more like metaphysical truths, like those
Yes.
this is truth, right? Whereas Gemini is subjective truth.
Yeah. It's more philosophical, more.
Yeah.
Like in that sense, like I think
So
Jupiter in Gemini can get lost,
restless. Yeah, no,
literally.
yeah, and that's why I feel like it's going to be a
Yeah.
time where we need to just be aware of like kind of just like mental health and just
Yeah.
because just I feel like people can go kind of chaotic with like 2 minute like all over the place or whatever, but that's kind of a negative tone on it. But I think it will be great for expanding our the technological things that
Yeah.
are kind of like a
And then
baby stage right now. So
yeah, and Jupiter is going to square Saturn 3 times. So it's the first
yeah,
time
I
in
have that in my
August.
chart too. Because
Yeah,
Jupiter.
and then in December, and then 2025. So this is like everybody says this is the worst aspect of the year, but I don't feel like that way. I think Jupiter, especially Gemini, it needs that square from Saturn to kind of put him on the ground, to ground him a little bit. So I love if Jupiter wouldn't be in Gemini, maybe it would be harder. But with Gemini and Pisces together, because Jupiter is going to rule this Saturn, I think it's a good thing. They're going to complement each other in some way, and it's not going to be over the top and bigger than light. Because Jupiter in Gemini, I'm afraid when it's loose, it can be a lot about fake news,
Yeah,
gossip, and
right.
a bunch of false information. Especially now, click something and you believe something. So this Saturn is going to keep him in check. I like those aspects. Squares are good. Yeah, so that's gonna be good. Anyway, so what is Uranus still doing? So we have this big Jupiter Uranus conjunctions. It's the beginning of a new cycle, a
That's
new
what I was gonna
12-year
say.
cycle, right? So um,
Well, not
it's
just
good.
12 year. I feel like
Or
if
more,
you
yeah.
follow the, there's also like we've begun kind of the age of air in a sense, right? With that
Yes.
2020, December 2020 Jupiter Saturn conjunction, which, that's where the cycle starts, is when those two planets meet. But and as you just referenced, the square that we're going to face later this year,
Mhm.
that's like a test point with that cycle, that Jupiter Saturn cycle. So if you want to look at it in terms of the 20-year cycle, then yeah, that's going to be like at the square, we test things. We're like, okay, this doesn't work, this has to go. And oftentimes it's things that like are dear to our hearts, and then that's why it can be frustrating. But that's how Saturn operates, in the sense that, okay, this is not going to work, this is not going to work. So it's a reality testing, right? Like that's what Saturn does. And so from the 20-year perspective, yeah, like that's true. But then also from the much bigger cycle, the age of air that we're in now, I feel
Yeah.
like uh, I'm not sure where I was going with that one, but yeah, we're basically, I feel like that like it does point back to that 2020 kind of conjunction when they had an Aquarius, and kind of like we're in that phase now. We're If you want to look at it from the 200-year cycle thing, we're in like the very like baby phase of that. We're in like the first few years of this. Like, think about, in like hundreds of years, we're going to look back at this period, and this is when the stuff kind of like started. So that's another thing I kind of tell people that are kind of like confused right now, and like restless, and don't know what to do.
Mhm.
It's almost like we're in an experimental phase, in a sense, But what do you
Yeah,
think?
we are. This is, uh, it's a people. It it's a test phase. I know, but people need to start testing. Everybody needs to
Yeah,
start.
absolutely. No,
prepar-
experiment on your own. Yeah, we're all learning more about ourselves,
yeah,
and like how we
yeah,
operate, and like
yeah.
society's kind of breaking down, but it's also building into something new, I feel like.
Yeah, I think rays of astrology is also something excellent that Uranus is bringing. It just because give us this awareness of who we are, what we are, how to work with the energies. See, this is also interesting. Uranus was in Taurus, so Taurus is also nature, right? So, and the
Yes.
rays of astrology in the last 5 years since Uranus was in Taurus, nobody mentions that, but actually that makes sense to me because astrology is a kind of uh, an art of being in tune with nature cycles, right? So the Uranus gave us this ability to get into cycles with nature because it's knowledge. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think?
So let's see.
If
Uranus.
Uranus rules astrology, so Uranus rules astrology. Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is nature. So the rays of astrology. Many people are learning how to live. You know, like a new learning our how to live according to the cycles of the nature and the universe and how this affects us in that sense, right? It's a
True.
awareness, like he brought more awareness.
Yeah, like because wherever your Uranus is going traversing through, he breaks things up in that thing. So I guess on that theme, like Uranus and Taurus, I had written down. So 1934 to 5 to 1941/2.
Mm-hmm.
Deep-seated change. The Great Depression brings financial instability and changes in farming
Mm.
methods. Food rationing begins, and also cryptocurrency. Have you noticed that
Oh,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
exploded?
yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a big Uranus and Taurus kind of thing that we've been kind of going through,
Happened, yes, that's
right?
right.
Like because it was so high, and then it fell, and then now it's going up again, and then people, governments, countries are talking about using that because it's, ultimately I think cryptocurrency is a great thing and it's giving power back to the people, but it has to still, because it's still so early, there's a lot of bad actors that kind of got involved initially that I feel like
Yeah.
so I do kind of support
That guy,
in there,
that
but
guy, yeah, sorry, that guy, he went to prison after that
yeah,
guy. What was
and
yeah,
Bankman Fried and like those scandals, and I mean, look at it, like those people are like Gen Z kind of people, right? Like it's very different than like your other fraudsters that like the Pluto and Leo
oh,
fraudsters,
the
right?
old school fraudsters. Yeah, this is a
Very
new way.
different, like very different personalities, the way they are and stuff. I mean, it's interesting to like kind of watch
But
like them unfold, but yeah. So I would say
yeah,
that was a big thing. So
I heard some astrologers, they talk about, that maybe we can gonna have one currency. I know Steve Judd, he was my teacher. He says like it's gonna be one currency. He feels that we should, maybe the world will change, that we will have one currency, no borders in the future, in that sense. So I feel that's just amazing.
sounds cool.
Um,
Yeah, but we
right?
still, in order to get there, like there's a lot of shit that
Oh
has to
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So, yeah,
But as you
but
said, it's a start, right? This is the
yeah,
when
no,
like a
absolutely.
preparation year, as you mentioned, which I love that preparation year. Um, yeah, and because when you mention money, this is also Taurus. I'm thinking about people before we had money, we had kind of gold was on the base of the value. Now that's not the case anymore. So it's all
Right.
imaginary money. As I said, there's no value behind it, right?
Yeah. And
Right.
I mean, like even like with the powers, like everything is always based on the U.S. dollar, but up until now even that's being like, with BRICS and all this other things going on, even that's coming into question. So you're right. Like I feel like that is something that like Uranus and Taurus has forced us to kind of like work with and reconcile with this through this whole crypto crisis kind of thing. But like yeah, like what you said sounds cool for the future, but there's that is part of the disruption that's going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like utopia, but we have to have we have to have dystopia before we have utopia. How that goes?
Yes, yes, for sure. No, I totally agree.
Something like
um
that. Tell me more. What do you have on your notes for Uranus
let's
this year?
okay, so like Uranus this year, so that, and then let's see, for Jupiter and Gemini I have your yeah, diverse subjects, varied knowledge, inventive. So I do feel like that period after Jupiter and Uranus conjoin, I feel like we're going to have something new introduced to us, and then the Jupiter and Gemini can help us work with that and making connections to like kind of
Mm.
utilize that to move forward. Because I don't even know exactly what it's going to
Mm.
be. We can only I'm kind of look at the themes of what it's going to be as an astrologer and stuff. But oftentimes with the way Uranus operates is like I said, like it hits you out of the blue, and then you learn to like operate with that. So I
I like
think that
that.
I think it'll help us like that second half of the year, and then with the Saturn reality testing kind of, I feel like that'll help us work out the kinks with whatever new thing is introduced to us. So I would say to people to be excited about something new coming up for us, and then just like, but then also being prepared to kind of work with that to see how that can operate like better in society. And hopefully it's, and I don't know, I feel like also though, like we should point out that it's not going to be all good, because there's like I
No,
with
no.
Jupiter Uranus times, the human depravity also goes up a little bit. So it's just something to be aware of, and not to scare people, but I'm just saying that like
No. It
uh,
can be like I mean, Uranus, Jupiter in Taurus can be earthquakes. That's like number one thing.
oh yeah, there you go. That's
Right?
another big one.
Like this
Earthquake.
natural disasters
Yes.
can be
Yeah.
involved. I just want to mention that Uranus is going direct on the 27th of January, so he's the only one still retrograde currently in the sky,
Right.
the only one. So when he goes direct on the 27th, we're gonna feel that more excitement, we're gonna feel more adventurous, and that we want to do and change things. So we're gonna have like a 3 months period, 2 months period until April. All the planets are going to be direct. full speed ahead we're going to feel this year. It's going to be very fast. That's why the first beginning of the year is fast, and then we have this eclipse and Mercury retrograde in April. That's why it's going to be a lot of things. And then we have this Uranus Jupiter conjunction. So April is going to be wild. Like April, I think it's going to be really buckle up kind of a month, because we're going to have so many things. We're going to work. We're going to do something, and then it's going to be like much of stuff can happen.
Kind of like the beginning of last year was, like when we had all planets direct for a while.
Yeah.
I think, do you remember that?
Yeah. Yes, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's like I think just yesterday the sun was squaring the nodal axis, and so that this is kind of the halfway point between that October eclipse and the April eclipse that's coming up. And you're right, that is going to be kind of a crazy eclipse, that which will kind of go on with this Uranus theme of like pushing.
Especially for the US, right? It's going to go right through the US.
Oh yeah, like the Great American Eclipse, like that, like like I think that's what I mean, is that like there's a lot to be excited about and happy about, but there's also a lot of like things that like unpleasant things that we're kind of having
like always in life. But that's
yeah, absolutely.
You know, like it's just if you're aware, you can strategize a little bit better, and you can put a cushion under your butt before you fall. That's kind of a thing. That's what astrology does. You just don't fall in your butt and it hurts. You kind of, oh, it's coming, but I have a cushion, and then you put it and it's easier. You still fall on your butt at the end, right?
And when you look back, you're oftentimes these things are just kind of like, wow, it happened for the better, like even though it doesn't feel like at that time. So
absolutely, that's especially, I would say, for Pluto transits, in my opinion. When they're happening, it feels like end of the world, and all. And then it's like,
I feel you there.
And then it's like, oh my god, oh my god, that was the best thing ever for my life. Like, it just in my experience. Okay, Uranus, so he's going direct on the 27th, and then he's going to go back retrograde on September 1st. So so I just want to mention that. So and then going to be retrograde in the end of the year. So for the other eclipse in October, Uranus is going to be a retrograde end of the year. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about the retrograde Uranus or no? I just want to mention to people who are interested.
Like, do you mean on a personal level? Because
what are your thoughts on Uranus retrograde anyway, just in general? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I feel like that Uranus retrograde points towards that on an individual level. Like, I have that individually, and I've noticed that there even more of that like anti-status quo, rebellious kind of nature, in a sense. I'm trying to think. It points to Neptune, but I don't want to get into that right now because that's another discussion. But I do. I feel like it's internalized more, and then you feel more of that need to kind of rebel on your own, rather than just when Uranus is direct, you're working with kind of the collective in order to initiate your changes. But
I'm going to probably have more insights to talk to you about this later in the year, or maybe next year. We'll see, because I'm thinking I was born with Uranus retrograde, and in my progress chart, it's going to go direct in a couple of months.
Oh wow, that's going to be a big change for you,
right? Like, so I'm thinking, and then my progressed moon just moved in Aquarius.
Me too. I think, me too. That's crazy, right? Like, I had that. Or no, it wasn't. Okay, sorry. It was Pluto solar arc but I also have something moving into Aquarius that's caused a big change. So, but progressed moon in Aquarius also, you feel like all that hard work, it feels like it was worth something. You start to enjoy the fruits of your labor as a good thing for that.
Yeah,
also,
I will see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to. Do you ever track the stations and change directions in your progressions? Those are the times.
Yes,
they're very important. So it's like a literally you navigate your life in a different way since then, right? So I'm still looking forward to this. Anyway, I'm excited. So we'll see how that goes. But I can tell you more. Then what does that mean in a progress chart?
We'll keep in touch. Like I'll for sure. I totally agree with you. I think people don't like it's very underrated. Like when you look at a chart, especially a progress chart, when and you have like a planet that's either retrograde or direct, whenever that stations, something there's something big in your life that happens, and it's so important when you're looking in the
Yeah,
long.
I know we're off topic, but that is so interesting. You know how they some astrologer schools say that people with they're born with a lot of retrogrades. It's very have a karmic thing, lots of things to do in this life. They came sense because so many planets are changing directions in this life and in progressions, right? So their life they have to do some always some action is happening in their life, so they have to do um,
Yeah,
to do a lot of things. Anyway,
for sure.
yeah, I just
I
want
guess.
to go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no! Last thing I wanted to say on Uranus that I want to make sure I say it before, and I don't forget to say it, is that like, so when I was saying about how, United States was formed and so much was formed, but also we had the Industrial Revolution then, which kind of
Mm,
um, Uranus represents electricity, right? And
yes.
so much of what we do today, we take for granted. We don't even think about that, but like it's all because of that Uranian kind of thing. So that's what I mean is that like with Uranus, it's a game changer for society. Like it's there's no it's
Mm,
like it changes something. Like that's one way to look at that. And I feel like with the growth aspect of like of Jupiter coming along here, I feel like I'm hoping that it can bring something like that. It's just something to keep your eye open for. So I wanted to just make sure I put that in there since we're talking about.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. So since Uranus is going to be in Taurus all year long, I just want to mention that every time we have Venus or Mars or Mercury going through Earth and water signs, it's going to make a nice aspects with Uranus, so you can do something new and adventurous just on your personal level, something that lifts you up, something new, exciting. Also, when it's going to go through fixed signs, it's going to square or oppose, like that's Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, or Leos. Like I'm talking about Mercury, Mars, and Venus now because they're changing. They're changing signs very often during the year, so it's going to be maybe going to be a harder period in the year. I think I put all the um, aspects in the description below this video. You can refer to that. If you need any more details about it, you can always get in touch with Sid or me if you need any if you want any personal details
Insight.
about how will this affect your chart. I know everybody, Uranus Jupiter conjunction is a big thing. It's going to affect everybody globally and personally. It's also an opportunity you don't want to maybe miss, how to navigate these energies the best way possible. So we are here for you, as always, as astrologers, to help you, guide you, and give you some pointers. Just wanted to mention that. I think that's it. I don't know. I have nothing else to add. I think we talked about Uranus a lot. So watch out for April 20th, everybody. That's the big date. You're going to feel this 5 days prior as well, 5 days after. So it's not like a 1 day thing. So like the whole last 2 weeks of April are going to be intense in that sense, and the first 2 weeks because of the eclipse. So April, buckle up for April. Awesome. Any other thoughts before we kind of finish the conversation? What are your kind of advice in general? Or I mean, you already gave us so many advices, but maybe just the last few things.
Just I guess stay tuned. I don't know what else to say. Like
Okay, cool.
it
I
was a
know you.
great. Thank you very much. Like yeah, this was awesome, and I look forward to talking to you more about this as the year goes on.
No, I'm looking forward. Actually, we could dive deep into this astrology of generations. I would
Yeah.
love to talk to you about that. I think from an evolutionary astrology perspective, especially because I know Pluto is very important there, and Pluto generations are the ones who make changes on a they transform the society in a sense. Every time the Pluto generation rules, so I really look forward to that as well. So just before we finish, where can people reach you if they need you for anything?
I have my form on my like I usually just refer people to Instagram now on Golden Ram
So
31.
DM. So the best way is to DM you for readings
Yeah,
or
just
for
DM
any.
me at this point. Yeah, because I'm also working with this Uranian thing, getting rid of the old way. I got rid of my website. I
Mm,
right, because it's just like these things that I was paying for that I just don't really, I don't even find clients through that way anymore. Like things are
mhm.
changing, right? So just
Yeah.
that's yeah. I would say mainly Instagram and just click my form or DM me. I'm pretty open to DM, and now I've started reading DMs from like other people too. So like so yeah, I'm pretty
Okay. So you're
responsive.
on Instagram and your handle is Golden Ram
31. Yeah.
31. There you go. So you now know where to find Sid, and you can find me under my full name, Jasmina Brozovic Astrology. I'm on YouTube, Instagram. I'm on Threads recently, and I have my website if you want to get in touch. And as always, everybody, please like, share, subscribe. It helps us a lot. To get the word out there of astrology. Thank you, Sid, very
Thank you
much for
so
your
much.
time and knowledge. It was very much fun. As always, I really enjoyed talking to you. So until next time, everybody. Tomorrow morning, I just want to mention tomorrow morning I have Hannah with me, and we're going to talk about Neptune in 2024. I mean, my morning, 7:30 a.m. So yes, that's it. Bye, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.